everyone. Welcome to the Sustainability Now, All In for Climate Smart 2025 webinar series. My name is Olivia Burns. I'm an environmental specialist with Clark County's Office of Sustainability, where I support the All In Clark County initiative. We're excited to have you join us today as we explore sustainable practices that can help conserve one of the most precious resources, water. Today's topic is presented by the Southern Nevada Water Authority, and we have Summer and Mike on the call to provide us an overview and some tips and strategies on reducing water consumption. Before we get started, I'd like to share a few tips to enhance your presentation experience and navigate the webinar platform. First, you can translate the entire meeting page and/or the live audio into another language by clicking the Translate button and selecting your preferred language from the drop-down menu. Closed captions are also available for this presentation. Click the CC button at the bottom right corner of the screen to turn them on. If you'd like to hear audio by phone, you can use the 855 number provided above the presentation page. To interact with us during the session, feel free to use the chat box next to the live stream to submit any comments or questions. If a question comes up in mind during the presentation, please drop it in the chat and we'll address them at the end. Lastly, if you have any issues viewing or hearing the presentation, please refresh your browser page. Now I'll pass it over to Mike and Summer to get us started. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Mike Bernardo. I'm the Enterprise Conservation Manager for Southern Nevada Water Authority. And as Enterprise Conservation Manager, I'm responsible for helping SNWA meet our conservation goals for commercial, industrial, institutional, multifamily, and golf course properties. So happy to be here today. Summer.
Hi, everyone. My name is Summer Ortiz, and I am Mike's counterpart. So instead of enterprise properties, I oversee the single-family residential properties and also water use compliance, which is simply water waste and water theft enforcement.
Excellent. Thanks, Summer. So we're super excited to be here talking to you about minimizing outdoor water use and our conservation programs here in Southern Nevada. So as I get started, I want to first explain why this is so important. So for those of you that live here, you know that just keeps feeling hotter and drier, breaking records left and right as the years go on. But over the last 30 years, as you can see, Las Vegas at just 4.2 inches of rain is the driest metropolitan area in the United States. And why this is important is because other times we're often put into places with other Southwest cities like Salt Lake City or maybe Phoenix or LA because of how close we are to them, but we get significantly less rainfall. And as to compare and contrast that, when you look at Death Valley over here on the right side of this slide, Death Valley over the last 30 years has averaged just 2.2 inches of rain, and it's the driest place in North America. So when we look back to 2024, the National Weather Service posted this infographic, and it tied 2017 with being the warmest month or warmest year ever on record. That being said, we broke or tied, 28 high maximum temperatures, 39 high minimum temperatures. And what that means is our warmer temperatures are getting warmer and it's just not cooling off as much at night. Additionally, we had over 112 days, so a third of the year above triple digits, and we received just 2.27 inches of recorded rainfall. So on that previous slide where I mentioned Death Valley receiving on average about 2.2 inches of rain per year, and it being the driest place in North America, we received just 2.2 inches of rain last year. So that's why it's so important and why we're focusing a lot on outdoor water use, specifically targeting turf grass, which is our #1 highest consumptive user of water in our community. And as I go into this, also our water resources is directly tied to the Colorado River. So it's important to tell a little bit of story about the Colorado River. So the 1,450 mile long Colorado River is the 6th longest river in the United States. and quite possibly the hardest working river in the world. It brings life to the hottest and driest parts of the country, powering the Southwest, and acts as the breadbasket of the nation. Its waters are sucked into thirsty grounds, while half of its entire flow is exported outside of its boundaries, never to return. Climate change and overallocation have caused every drop to be depleted along its journey, making it the largest river in the US that no longer reaches the ocean. So when you look at the Colorado River, this is the Colorado River Basin. It encompasses 7 states as well as the country of Mexico. And it's made up of 2 basins, an upper basin, Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, New Mexico, and the lower basin where we are with California, Arizona, and Nevada. So 16.5 million acre feet are allocated annually, yet our inflows haven't supported that allocation, which is why you've seen the river decline year over year. So when we look at where the water goes, another reason why our water resource is so critically important here in Southern Nevada is we get just 1.8% of that 16.5 million acre foot annual allocation on the Colorado. So because we get just 1.8% in the smallest apportionment of the river, we have to protect that. So severe and sustained drought, as those of you who live here have seen, we are geographically located with Lake Mead in our backyard. And we've seen it, especially if you grew up here in Las Vegas in the 80s and you saw the time in the early 80s when Lake Mead was spilling. And then you saw the beginning of the drought in the early 2000s when Lake Mead was nearly full. Then 2000 to 2004, the driest 5 consecutive years ever on record came. And we went from nearly full to about 50% of capacity in just 5 years and saw how quickly things could change. And then again in 2023, we reached our lowest level recorded at Lake Mead since initial filling at around 25% full. So who we are here in Southern Nevada Water Authority. So we were formed in 1991 to address Southern Nevada's unique water challenges. Previously, the different member agencies of Southern Nevada Water Authority, but previously the cities and municipalities as Southern Nevada would potentially compete on the water resource. Whoever could develop it first would put it to beneficial use, and they could essentially secure that water resource. SNWA was there so that the municipalities didn't have to compete. SNWA could be the regional authority to secure that water resource and ensure its lasting availability for all to use it, so they didn't have to worry about competition. We can ensure that that water was available for use for all of the now purveyor agencies within Southern Nevada. So what does that mean? Our major responsibilities are water supply planning, so developing and managing those water supplies, conservation, so ensuring that we're conserving water where we can through incentives, education, regulation, and pricing. Water quality, so maintaining and protecting the quality of that water for our community. Infrastructure, so building and operating major facilities such as the low lake level pumping station, the water treatment facilities that provide potable drinking water to our community, as well as stewardship, so protecting the environment and those water and environmental resources within our community. So as I mentioned, we get just 1.8% of the Colorado River allocation each year, but that 1.8% makes up 90% of our community's water supply, with only 10% being made up of groundwater supplies. We recycle nearly 99% of all water use that's used indoors. So that's why one of our conservation goals are to really track and reduce unnecessary outdoor water use where that water is lost from our system, and focus on bringing that water used indoors where it can get recycled. So the typical flow of how our water recycling system works is if it's anywhere within the Las Vegas Valley, if it makes its way into a drain or the sanitary sewer, it goes to be treated at one of 4 wastewater treatment facilities. Gets treated to near drinking water quality. It gets released into the Las Vegas wash, which naturally filters and drains it more, creates an environmental habitat as well, and then flows through gravity into Lake Mead. And for every gallon we're able to put back through Las Vegas Wash into Lake Mead is a gallon that we can pump out of Lake Mead without any impact to that 1.8% allocation. So essentially, if we can continue to recycle that and bring water use indoors, treat it, return it to Lake Mead, we can continue to go in a cyclical motion. The water that we do lose is that of outdoor use, so mostly landscaping, pools, evaporation to pools, septic systems, so where it goes into leach fields, or evaporative cooling. So 60% of our water use every single year is lost to outdoor water use. So to talk a little bit about our conservation program, it's promoted it's designed to curb inefficient and consumptive water uses. So recently in 2021, AB 356, the state mandated non-functional turf removal bill was designed so that all decorative and non-functional grass had to be removed by January 1st, 2027. That meant landscape strips, decorative grass in center medians, in HOA like monument turf areas. If the only person that was enjoying it was there either visually enjoying it, looking at it, or walking on it to mow it, that had to come out. Septic systems, so municipal water supplies can no longer be tied to septic systems. So new development will have to be tied into both the municipal supply as well as the sewer, so that we can get return flow credit for that. Evaporative cooling. So evaporative cooling makes up the second highest consumptive use in our community, at about 10% of our water supply each year being lost to cooling towers and swamp coolers. So there's a evaporative cooling moratorium that started in September of 2023. And that meant new buildings are prohibited from using evaporative cooling. So they have to look at dry methods such as HVAC to cool new development. So swimming pools. So new swimming pools are limited to 600 square feet, and that's in single family residential development. And that's because as we removed grass from being allowed in the front and backyards of single family residential parcels, oftentimes we saw that those backyards were being poolscaped in the entire backyard. And when you have that, you have a lot of evaporation and you lose a lot of water to that. So that's the point of the swimming pool limitation. New grass is limited to parks, schools, and cemeteries. So we obviously want grass to be installed, and we'll allow it to be installed in the future for the benefit and enjoyment of the community where it is functional and people can enjoy it. Golf courses, the water budgets were reduced by 1/3, as well as a moratorium on new golf courses. Fountains, so ornamental water fountains that you may have seen like down at the Strip, including at resorts, or lake properties at HOAs, et cetera. Those are all prohibited in the future. And then water pricing, punitive water rates for the top 10% of single family residential users use collectively more than the bottom 60% of water users in our community. So there's water pricing to send a signal to that top 10% that they're using a significant amount of water, and we're able to use some of the funds collected from that to put back into our conservation programs. So with that, I will, sorry, I thought I was talking to this screen. This is what I was just talking about. I apologize. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Summer Ortiz to talk about all of our conservation efforts. Thank you.
All right. I'll just tell you, I guess, go ahead and change the slide. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the different programs that we offer. So Mike hit a lot on the enterprise and what are required for non-single family properties. So these programs that I'm going to talk about are mostly driven towards citizens and residential properties. But for the biggest one that I'm sure you've all heard about is our Water Smart Landscapes program. So that has evolved over the years. I mean, we started as little as like 40 cents a square foot, and that has evolved now to $3 a square foot for the first 10,000 square feet. and then it's $1.50 square foot after that. Non-single family properties can also participate in that. And it's the same rebate amount if it's functional turf. If it's non-functional, though, it's only $2. I do apologize. I put this bullet in here about LVVWD and City of Henderson offering additional incentives under the wrong bullet. So that is only applies to single family residential customers. So if you are a resident that, and I'm going to try to fix it, but if you are a resident that that is a customer of either City of Henderson or Las Vegas Valley Water District, they do have toppers in addition to ours. So for instance, the Water District right now is offering an additional $2 a square foot. City of Henderson is offering like a one-time $575. So the difference between functional and non-functional, you're probably wondering, anything that is functional is pretty much you're not just mowing it. There's a use for it. And so there is a definition for that. And Mike talked a little bit about that a minute ago under the AB 356 rule. And so we are still incentivizing functional turf, which is considered residential, and non-functional turf is just still being rebated, but at a lower rate of the $2. So just some stats. Last year, we converted over 15 million square feet and gave out nearly $50 million in rebates. And just just something to remember that no front or backyard turf installations are allowed anymore in single family homes. So any new construction, new grass is not allowed. You can go ahead and switch the slide. So in addition to the Water Smart Landscapes, you may have heard about the a tree incentive rebate. So what that is just to increase the urban tree canopy and just fight the heat island effect. And so we are incentivizing if you're adding additional trees into your landscape. So you still have to be part of the Water Smart Landscapes program, but we will give an extra $100 per tree installed. So there are program conditions and there are certain trees that have to be installed. That can all be found on our website. But since that has gone into effect in July of 2023, we've rebated over 5,300 trees to help in that effort. So these trees represent 2.3 million square feet of canopy coverage. Next slide. So we do have some different coupon programs. One of those is a smart irrigation controller. So some still use timers that you have to program, in your garage on site. Smart irrigation controllers can be used through apps on your phone. Much more efficient. You're able to shut them off if there's a rain event. You could put them in smart mode, so it's going to shut them off if there's wind or any weather conditions. So these devices save about 5% of the household use. It's pretty easy to get one. You just go on our website and print out a coupon. You can take that to a retailer that sells them and get an instant 50% off. Or if you prefer to shop online on Amazon, then we do a mail-in rebate type of thing. So, and any new construction starting January of 2024, these are required to be installed. Next slide. The smart leak detector coupon. This is another one. So we have research shows that these detectors, that leaks can account to about 10 to 12% of residential water use. So these devices not only identify leaks, but they can also provide consumption data to a household. So there's a couple different types. There are some that you attach to like near the meter, and it just detects the motion of the water basically, and it's going to So like I said, there's a couple different ones. That's the simplest one, and that will tell you, how much water you used when you flushed the toilet, or how many gallons were used when you took a shower. There are other ones that you can attach closer to, like in the garage, and it monitors a lot more detail. So those are a couple options, and those are 50% off the purchase price, not to exceed $200. We have a Water Smart contractor and plumber program. So this is just a resource for customers to visit our website. A lot of times you're overwhelmed, you don't know where to start. So instead of just, Googling and coming back with hundreds of different contractors and plumbers, this can get you started. So both plumbers and contractors have gone through training with us. They have to do refresher training. They have to be in good standing with the Nevada State Contractors Board. They have to be licensed and insured. We do not endorse any of them, but they are listed as either a Water Smart contractor or a Water Smart plumber. So we currently have about 30 plumbers and about 100 landscape companies. Next slide. The Water Smart Leak Detection Program. This is a new program, and it's just to help customers offset the cost of finding a leak. So if you think you have a leak in your property, we can issue you a voucher up to $250 that can be used towards leak detection services or the first 2 hours of any service work to actually repair the leak. So it's only available to single-family customers. We have about almost 30 plumbers have agreed to participate. So they do have to be a Water Smart plumber in order to take this voucher. And we've rebated about 400 vouchers since this was launched about a year ago. Next slide. And then residential site evaluations. These are our staff. We have staff that's very educated in water consumption and irrigation usage. They're certified in different things. They will come to your property, and it is a free service. And right now it's eligible to all customers. Most of the customers we get are customers that have received an excessive use charge from the water district, and they just need some help on how to maybe just schedule their irrigation based on their plants. But the staff is going to do a whole audit of their outside. So they're going to look at try to find any leaks or isolate those leaks at least. Give recommendations for scheduling. They typically take 1 to 4 hours, so they can be pretty extensive depending on the size of the property. And then once it's done, there will be a report given to the customer. So it's a very detailed report with all the suggestions. It'll also say if you did the recommendations, like how much water you could potentially save. So we have shown so far that you can save about 60,000 gallons of water per year per property, just based on these evaluations. And we conducted about 120 visits last year. Next slide. And I'll try, I know we're starting to get a little short in time, so I'll try to go through this a little fast. So water use compliance is basically water waste and water theft enforcement. So as a condition of service, and I'm speaking for the water district right now because that's the program that I administer. We do, all the member agencies do some type of water waste enforcement, but right now I'm just kind of flipping hats, and I'm going to be speaking for the water district. So as a condition of service, customers must use the water that's delivered to them in a efficient manner, and they have to avoid any type of waste. So we have a team of about 30 staff members that investigate, and we do have a couple of those that work in Henderson and North Las Vegas to provide assistance to them. Next slide. So just some what is a water waste violation? So basically any water that's flowing off the property, which most commonly is from over irrigation or overspray. So the sprinklers are just not aligned right, or you're watering too long. If we've notified you of any type of leak, broken sprinkler head, broken emitter, anything, that needs to be repaired within 48 hours or it becomes a violation. We have rules regarding washing the car. You're only supposed to wash your car 1 day a week at your home. We really encourage Water Smart car washes. You cannot drain your pool or spa water off of the property. It has to go back into your sewer port. You cannot use spray irrigation between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. during the summer months. So that's May 1st to August 31st. We have restrictions regarding misters. So misters for commercial properties can only run from noon to midnight during those summer months. And then we have watering group assignments. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the days that you're allowed to water, so that if you don't water on those days, that is a violation. Next slide. All right, so if you're interested in finding your watering group, if you don't know what it is, you can go to snwa.com. It's usually on the front page. It just says find your watering group, enter your address, the city you live in, and it will pop up. It's pretty simple. Next slide. If you want to report water waste, there is you can do that through your mobile device, or you can go online. This is kind of what it looks like. We're just going to ask the date and time. Most of it will auto-populate. So if you're actually reporting it while you're seeing the waste, the date and time will come up. So if it's noon on July 1st and it knows that you're not supposed to be watering, it's automatically going to come up with certain violation types, such as time of day violations. But it'll allow you to tell you the type of waste. We always encourage photos and any additional information. Next slide. And then once we get that, we look at every single report that comes through to us. Those are mostly all through the online system. If the system sees that there has been no history of any water waste, a courtesy letter is just going to go out to that customer telling them, we got this report, please take a look and see what's going on. If we've already had some type of history at the property, we are going to roll a truck and go out there and investigate it. In some cases, depending on what it is, if the citizen sends in a photo, we will make contact with the customer and try to let them know, hey, you have a broken sprinkler head in your front yard, or whatever it may be. We do obtain video documentation anytime we observe a violation, and then a formal notice is issued. We do follow up 7 to 14 days. It just depends on the violation type. If it's still happening, then we do start assessing fees, and then that follow-up cycle continues until it's fixed. Customers do have the right to appeal any type of fees within 30 days, and then those cases stay open for 18 months. You basically have to be free of any violations for 18 months in order to start over. And these are the fees. So basically a normal single family property is going to start at $80. They could max out, sorry, this was just looking a little weird. Sorry. And then they can max out at almost $1,300. And again, these can be assessed every week to 2 weeks. So a business, if it's a large business, they would start at $320 and they can max out at over $5,100. So a couple ways when they appeal a fee, we do have, it's similar to like a driver, like a driving class. If you got a ticket, we do have an online video that can be watched with some questions. As long as you do that, then you can waive the first fee. We do offer educational visits. So we would go out there and give the customer advice and to help them abate the water waste. Or we can hold a hearing with an independent officer that determines whether the case is valid or the fee is valid. Next slide. All right, now I'm going to pass it back to Mike.
All right, thank you, Summer. So I'm going to just wrap it up. So basically, when you put all of that together and we look at, how we're treating grass, our number one consumptive user, how we treat efficiency, so how efficiently we use our water, the standards that we put in place, and we work with our community partners and policymakers in town for new development and adapting to really the desert climate that we're in. When you put all of these together, we see the results. So when everyone contributes a little bit, we end up seeing big results. So from 2015 to 2020, prior to AB 356 and all of those, conservation policies that we put into effect over the last 3 to 4 years, we saw a period of increasing use. And then from 2021 through today, we've seen our usage decrease year over year. And a large part of that is the removal of that non-functional turf within our community. So what that means is since 2002, our population as a state has increased 55%, while our per capita water use has decreased by the same amount, 55%. And our total Colorado River consumption has been down 36%. So I want to thank Olivia and Clark County all in for having us present today, and I want to thank Summer for presenting with me. It's always a pleasure when I get to present with Summer. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you so much, Summer and Mike, for sharing your expertise and insights with us today. your guidance and your time today. Is truly, we really appreciate it. And thank you for the audience for joining. We hope you feel more equipped and with these practical tips and resources to reduce water consumption in your own homes, businesses, gardens, etc. And like Mike said, by making any of these changes, we could all contribute to preserving our water resources for Clark County. Now I'll look at the questions we have. First question is, does the SNWA website have resources for how often we should water plants during summer months to ensure they thrive while conserving water?
Sorry. Yes, we do have that research. There's tons of information on snwa.com. So if you went in there to, I believe it's landscape tips, and it will talk about watering and maintaining your landscape.
Thanks, Summer. Next question. Is there a water smart program or course for new homeowners?
We have different courses at the Springs Preserve, but they're more, I don't think that we have anything like that, Mike. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I know there is stuff about for installing, like if you're going to install a new landscape, like how to install drip irrigation. And it talks a little bit about like caring for the plants, but not anything particular for new homeowners.
Yeah,
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. I think currently Springs Preserve is going to be a great resource. There's the Desert Living Center there, and the Master Gardeners in Las Vegas. They meet there, I believe, monthly, but they're constantly putting on classes for residents of the community on how to xeriscape and how to, basically have your plants or gardens thrive in our desert climate. So,
Great, thank you. And then the last question is, how would a homeowner or business know their water use compares to properties of similar size? Might not even be a homeowner, it could be resident. If I live in my house and I'm a renter, how would I know maybe my neighbor who's wasting more water or using more water?
so if I may,
Mhm.
it's subjective on how much water is used because it all depends on how much is actually being consumptively used, right? If your neighbor has a larger household, maybe more children, and they're showering more than like a 5-person household than a 2-person household, washing more clothes, all of that gets returned to the sanitary sewer, will be treated and returned, and we'll be able to pump that back out of Lake Mead. So in terms of how much usage you have consumptively on single family residences specifically, that's going to be limited to your pools and your landscaping. So it's a really hard question to answer, but maybe Summer, do you have a better idea of that?
No, I mean, and we hate to say it just depends, but you can go on snwa.com and there's a water use estimator. You could at least kind of get an idea of what you should be using, and it does give you some. It'll ask you have a high efficiency dishwasher and different things. It asks different scenarios, and it will tell you kind of what you're using and what you could be using. So I know it doesn't necessarily answer your question about what your next door neighbors are using, but it can kind of give you a good estimate.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much, both of you, for answering those questions that we have. That's all the questions in the chat. So I'll just go over some upcoming events. So as Mike mentioned Springs Preserve, I just wanted to share some Earth Month events that are coming up. So April is Earth Month. Springs Preserve has their Earth Day celebration, April 19th. So I know that there'll be lots of resources there to learn more about water smart practices. And then again, thank you for joining for today's webinar series on outdoor water use. We have this presentation series going the entire year, once a month. And we'll have guest speakers from all sorts of different organizations coming on to share their tips and knowledge. The next webinar we have is on April 10th, and we will have the Arbor Day Foundation talking about the benefits of urban forestry. So we have more resources for taking care of your plants and trees in Southern Nevada and our landscape here. So you could go sign up for any of these webinars that we have coming up. And then here's some Earth Day events that we're going to be attending and be at. So if you want to come say hi to the All in Clark County team, and I know SNWA will be at the Springs Preserve. UNLV also has a Earth Day celebration that's 2 days long. So hope to see you there. And then the next event, we partnered with Red Rock Audubon and Lake Mead National Park Service to host a few stewardship events. So you could come bird watch, nature walk, clean up trash with a group of volunteers if you want to join. Those are also available to RSVP on our website. To stay informed about all of our upcoming events, you could sign up for our newsletter right here at allinclarkcounty.com/events. So you could register, sign up for the newsletter. We also have social media if you want to stay updated that way on our programs, resources, and events. And we look forward to seeing you at the next one. And that is all for today's presentation. So again, thank you, Summer and Mike, for joining, and thank you to the audience for joining us as well. And I hope you guys have a great day and take care.